What is up, everybody? Time for part 2 of this little beginning about me Keto Savage story. So where we left off, I had done the other competitions. I was in Washington, quit the railroad, got back with Crystal, yada yada yada. So that brings us to where we are now, which is basically I was back with Crystal, but I hadn't found keto yet, and I was jobless and broke. So being jobless and broke in Washington without any source of income and having like a home and a mortgage and all those expenses is not an easy place to be. I wound up relying heavily on credit cards. Haven't told anybody this, kept it quiet, but I got to $30,000 in credit card debt. So Mom, if you're watching this video, yeah, $30,000 in credit card debt. So had the mortgage, $30,000 in credit card debt, like $30,000 in student loans, and I was officially in freak out mode because I didn't have a job, didn't have a plan, and couldn't afford to put food on the table. So I basically decided, okay, I gotta find a cure for this. I gotta change something. About that same time is when I found keto. I had just finished my second two competitions, my second and third competition, and I was trying to reverse diet out of that, and decided I was going to use carbohydrate backloading. So basically, if you're not familiar with carbohydrate backloading, you're basically keto the first part of the day, and then you eat a bunch of high glycemic index carbs at night. That way you spike your blood sugar rapidly and it returns to normal as you sleep. And that's kind of the method I use. But I mean, with that, you're eating like, cherry turnovers, pastries, pizza, really high glycemic index carbs that aren't really healthy. They're not really whole foods, so it just felt wrong. I noticed that I started feeling better before I ever introduced the carbs at night. So I would feel better during the first half of the day when I was just eating, proteins and fats. So I said, okay, I'll just try taking out the carb backload completely and basically do carb backloading without the carbs. And I noticed I started feeling better and better and better. My mental clarity went through the roof. My energy doubled. I didn't have that 3 o'clock crash like everybody else was having. And I'm like, man, I'm onto something here. What's going on? I would tell the people I was working out with, hey, I haven't had carbs in like 3 weeks. And they're like, yeah, you're crazy. You're not going to be able to make it through this workout. I made it through the workout and I did better than them. And that was just that became my norm. I'm like, okay, not sure what I'm doing, not sure why this is working. I must be like a strange outlier. So I started looking into that in further detail, and I found this this thing called keto, and I researched, and it said that it was used in the 20s by doctors for children with epileptic seizures. And I'm like, I don't know what that has to do with me, but this seems to be the same protocol I'm following, so I'll keep digging. I found Jimmy Moore's book, Keto Clarity, read that cover to cover in like a day, and I was like, man, this is crazy. This is what I'm doing. What can I do to learn more? I listened to Tim Ferriss's podcast with Dom DiAgostino, and I've always been a big fan of Tim Ferriss. So after hearing that episode, I'm like, okay, this is where it's at. I'm gonna jump into this full tilt, and that's what I did. That pretty much became my lifestyle. So I had keto as a lifestyle. I kept tweaking that, kept improving that, and kept refining that, and got better and better with it. So my nutrition was good, and I didn't have the eating disorders. I didn't have any of that, so a huge weight was lifted there. But I had this huge weight of my financial burden and like not knowing how to be a good boyfriend to Crystal. So there's a lot of stressors there, and everything just kind of became clouded due to the financial burden I had. Like that was a rough time because I couldn't, like I said, I couldn't afford to put food on the table. Every single thing was a stressor. Living from credit card to credit card, I would do like balance transfers to like make ends meet. Like it was bad. $30,000 in credit card debt is not good. And so I'm okay. I'm just gonna work my ass off, and that's what I did. I got a job. David Frazier, the master blacksmith that I tried to start the Amazon store with, reached out to him. I'm like, hey man, what can I do remotely from Washington? I know you're in Arkansas, but is there anything I could do? He's like, yeah, you can do my accounting, you can do my website, you can do my books. So I learned how to, make websites, learned how to, he also does 3D designs, 3D renderings for all of his clients. So I learned how to teach myself, Google SketchUp. So I would spend hours like watching tutorials, learning how to do these different skills, and then I'd apply those to his business. And like, okay, it's great, but it's still not paying the bills. So I was still doing the real estate. I had my real estate license still. So I poured myself into, finding clients, hosting open houses, trying to just make money there as an agent, as a realtor, which was trying too, because I didn't have that network in Washington. So then I reached out to the gym that I was going to. I'm like, hey, you got any work for me? I mean, is there anything I can do? He's like, yeah, sure, you can do sales at the front desk. So I was working a sales job, selling gym memberships at Gold's Gym in Spokane. Still wasn't paying the bills. So I'm like, okay, what else can I do? So I reached out to my uncle Mark, who owned and built his company, Personalized Bottled Water. And I'd helped him, during the summers and everything as a kid, basically labeling branded water bottles. People will order water for like a wedding or something, and I would help label the bottles and make deliveries and stuff. So I reached out to him, and he got me doing cold calling and sales from Washington. So there's 2-hour time difference. So I'd wake up early, or I'd stay up late making calls. Hello, this is Robert Sykes, Personalized Bottled Water. What can I do for you? And so I was working 4 jobs and still spending more money than I was making, because I had the mortgage and all the stuff going on. It was just crazy. That was a really, really dark time in my life, because I did not give Crystal any time. I was so stressed about my finances, so stressed about how am I going to make it in this world. I would just work. I literally didn't sleep, and I would fight with Crystal every single night, because all she wanted was like 5 minutes of time, and I wouldn't give it to her. Like, I was just so focused and in the zone, like tunnel vision, on climbing out of this huge hole that I dug myself into, that became my everything. And it was bad. Like, my relationship started slipping with friends and family. It's a pretty dark time, and I got pretty depressed. I got really depressed, and I got suicidal there for a second. I don't think I would have ever acted on any of those suicidal thoughts, but it was dark. I would be driving home from work and just imagine myself driving into the bridge and thinking that I'd be doing the world a favor. Because it's kind of hard to talk about. I can relate with people that are depressed now and suicidal, and it's not because you don't want to live anymore. It's not because you want to escape your reality so much as it is, or at least for me, it is that I thought other people would be better off without me. Like, I looked at my relationship with Crystal, and I felt like I was holding her back. I looked at my relationship with David, one of my best friends, and I'm like, I'm holding you back, man. I'm missing. There's so much I'm juggling right now. I'm missing some of your tax payments. I'm missing some of your marketing stuff. And the same thing would happen with Mark and his business. These are all like my family and friends, and it's like, these are people that I just want to be the best I can be for, and yet I'm causing you more harm than I'm bringing you. And that thought shifted into like, okay, this isn't about me anymore. I'm causing other people, pain. The world would be better off without me. And that's a really dark place to be in. So it was bad. I remember after one particularly hard conversation with David, I just messed up a tax payment or something, and he was going through a lot of stress at the time too, and he just kind of unleashed on me, so to speak. And I remember sitting there on the floor of my office, like in tears, thinking to myself that there's no end to this. I'm broke. I'm not able to make enough to pay my bills. I'm causing people more harm than I am good. This is it. And I got up. I grabbed a skinning knife, one of my hunting knives that I had by my bedside, and I walked over to at a portrait of my first competition. And I looked at that portrait. It was of me. And I looked at that portrait, and I realized to myself, that had been the hardest thing I'd ever done up to this point. And I had been more proud of that moment than I had been since. And that was like 4 years prior. And it was like, that was a pathetic realization. It's like, okay, this is the best thing I've done in my life thus far. I haven't been this proud since. I haven't worked this hard since. That's pathetic. I'm wasting away. So I got the knife, and I put it right between my eyes on that picture, just stabbed the wall. And I made an oath to myself right then and there. It's like, I'm not going to allow myself to pull this knife out until I do something with greater magnitude than what I accomplished here. And from there, I went out into the woods, drove my truck out in the woods, sat down, meditated, prayed, thought about my life, thought about what I was good at, thought about what I was passionate about, thought about what I could potentially be great at, and how I could add value to this world. What can I do that's going to make a difference and leave a legacy. And that basically became the beginning of Keto Savage. I didn't know what it was going to be called at the time. I didn't know what it was going to form into, but that became the framework. That was the deciding moment, basically, for starting Keto Savage. And I took that, and I basically said, okay, I'm going to take what I know from the ketogenic diet. I'm going to help other people. That's something that I think is got potential. So I'm going to just pour myself into that. And I decided I was going to write a book, a manual. So that's when I wrote the Keto Adaptive Performance Manual. I put my head down for a month, just like locked myself in my office and wrote the entire book in a month. And I was super proud of it. I had my dad, who was like he's a college professor. He writes a lot. So I'm like, okay, can you edit this for me? Can you proof it for me? Let me know what it needs. And went home and asked him what he thought of it. And he looked me in the eyes and was like, this is pathetic. It's not good for anything. You're doing the human race a disservice by publishing this, because the principles that you're recommending in here are unhealthy. People are gonna, get cholesterol and die from it. And that really kind of broke my heart for a second there, because of all the people that I want to impress and have them have respect for me, it's my father, And he kind of totally tore me down there. So that was a really hard moment. But I knew in my heart that what I was doing was right. I knew I didn't have all the answers, but I felt good about what I was doing. So I took his words, put them behind me, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna make this work. I'm gonna choose not to listen to your advice. I'm gonna just double down on this and be the best I can be with it. So I published the book, and basically took everything that I had known and learned from building David's website, built the ketosavage.com website. At the time I was listening to a bunch of Gary Vaynerchuk's business, YouTube videos and whatnot. So he was all about social media and marketing to people. So I built like an Instagram, a Facebook. I made a podcast. Built a YouTube channel using my phone because I didn't have a camera at the time. I would record everything in my closet in Spokane because that was the only place I could find that was quiet. I had like a cloth backdrop. It was just totally primitive. But I knew, it just felt right. I felt emotion behind what I was doing. I felt like this could be something that I could turn into something I could just put my head down and grind at. So that's what I did. So I was working 4 jobs, the real estate, Golds, David, and Mark. I built the business, so 4 jobs and building a business, Keto Savage. And I was still broke, still stressed with Crystal, didn't know what to do with my life there. So I'm like, what can I do that's gonna be a deciding moment? For me personally, every great thing in life has happened as a result of doing something freaking hard. And that adversity gives me clarity. Like doing something it's either gonna break me or I'm gonna break through. That's kind of like my outlook towards things. So all this was going on. I was getting like 3 hours of sleep a night. I was broke. And I'm like, I'm gonna do a competition. I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna compete. I'm gonna give myself 4.5 months of prep and I'm gonna do that competition. It had been a while since my last competition. I figured a competition would be a good way to test what I'd learned so far with the ketogenic diet. So I decided on doing the WNBF Natural show in Marysville, Washington. And I took 4.5 months prepped for that, doing it all keto. Everybody, all my bodybuilding, competitor friends, they were like, you're crazy, you're not gonna be able to do this. There's no way you're gonna be able to, sustain muscle mass. You're not gonna be able to fill out on stage. Keto won't work, okay? You're a fool for even trying this. And I'm like, yeah, well, I'm gonna figure it out anyways. So that's what I did. I knew how good I felt with keto, so I'm like, I'm just gonna dive in and see what happens. Worst case scenario, I'm still gonna learn a ton from it. So took the 4.5 months, prepped with keto the whole time. All the other competitors, they leave protein really high and they drop their carbs with some carb refeeds and they drop their fat. I thought to myself, okay, this is an inefficient process. Basically, your protein's the only super high macronutrient. Your body's inefficiently converting that to glucose through gluconeogenesis. That does not seem optimal. That's why you're walking around like zombies. That's why I had walked around like a zombie in years prior. I'm going to do this keto. I'm going to leave fat high because that's my primary energy source, and I'm going to manipulate protein and taper that down. The week before the show, my protein was at 65 grams. All my other competitor friends were at 300 grams. So they would hear about what my macros were, and they were like, this guy Robert, he's freaking crazy. He doesn't know what he's doing. And I'm like, well, maybe not. So the week of the show came around. I decided to do the GBO show too. There was a GBO show that was local. in Spokane. Mary's the one in the WNBF show was in Seattle, or just above Seattle. So I did the local show, and like any other competition day, I got in a headspace, I meditated, visualized what was going to happen, and I was not eating any carbs. Obviously, I didn't have the carb refeed. I had a keto refeed the night before. I was drinking a ton of water because I didn't have the glycogen that would cause me to spill over like the other competitors. So it was just totally opposite from what everybody else was doing. They were all eating rice cakes, and I'm eating a keto brick. It was just different. And the judges, called us up on stage. We're posing, we're hitting our poses, and I'm looking at my physique, and it's surprising me. Like every pose I hit, the warmer my body gets, the more shredded and vascular I got. Like I was achieving a level of definition that I didn't even think was possible for me naturally. And I freaking killed the competition. Like it was lights out, no competition. I mean, it was a surreal moment for me because I had done exactly opposite of what all they had done, and I looked much better and I felt much better. My ketones were getting higher and higher and higher through my prep, so my mental clarity was getting better and better. I was feeling better throughout the prep while everybody else was feeling worse. And I was like PRing on lifts, and then I had an awesome show day results. I got my pro card. I won the overall title. They gave me an all-expense paid trip to Cancun, and I won my pro card. I mean, I was a pro officially that day, and it was just a surreal moment for me. Then, 2 weeks after that, I had my WNBF show, which is what I was trying to peak for. So I put my head down, was grinding on that. That's the one that, was the big show for me, the priority show. I had my parents coming in from Arkansas. I had my best friend Charlie coming in. I had some other friends coming in. Like I didn't want to let any of them down. So I'm like, okay, I'm not even going to tell anybody that I won this show. I'm just going to grind it out until this show's over. So that's what I did. And about 30 minutes before I stepped on stage, or about an hour before I stepped on stage for the WNBF show, I had a total breakdown. I had like so much emotion coming up, and I couldn't control it. So I walked outside, and I grabbed my camera, and I vlogged the whole thing because I wanted to document it. But I was like in total tears of happiness because no matter what the judges had said at the WNBF show, I had already won. Like I had proven keto as an effective protocol. I made it through all this, trying time with like my financial insecurities and just everything. And I had won, so I didn't care what the judges said. Like I had given my best. I hadn't taken any shortcuts. I put in the work. The discipline, dedication, and desire was through the roof. Like there was nothing to regret. And I was happy with my placings, whatever they were. I got second at that show. Like I said, I was totally happy with that. It was the best day of my life. We all went out to eat afterwards, my family. That was the first show that my dad had ever been able to attend, so it was super cool to have him there. My mom was there. It was a really beautiful moment in my life. That was an awesome moment. So yeah, that happened there. And then after the show, actually before the show, I told my mom that I was moving back to Arkansas. She didn't think I was gonna ever leave Washington, so I surprised her and told her that I was moving back to Arkansas, which is a really cool moment for her too because we were all gonna be together again. So after the show, everybody went home and everything, and Crystal and I, it would have been nice to relax, but we didn't have time to relax because we were about to move back to Arkansas. So I decided to keep my house as an investment property. I found a good tenant for me, so got the house ready for him to move in and me to move out. And we were still broke, so we decided to maintain like the minimalist lifestyle. We sold everything we could. I sold my kayak, which was hard. I didn't want to sell my kayak. Sold our couches, sold everything. And I built this huge plywood box that fit and mounted on the back of my truck. And we put all of our stuff in this plywood box. And here, Crystal and I are moving. Whoa. I messed up something. I forgot something. Rewind a little bit. Right after the competition, I did my 21-day challenge. Can't believe I forgot about that. All right, so we'll save the moving for just a little bit later. So after the competition, post-show, a lot of people, they make the mistake of like, well, it's just typical. Every bodybuilder, they're going to eat a whole bunch of food. They've been at a deficit for so long. Everybody's just binging on food, And like the first show I did, I gained 20 pounds in 36 hours because you just that's how you get eating disorders. You start eating, you binge, and you just blow up like a balloon. And I wanted to test to see what would happen from a ketogenic perspective post-show. So I decided I was going to document the whole process. I wanted to know how keto affected everything from the off season to the contest prep to the peak week to the post show. So I decided I was going to replicate Jason Whitrock's 21-day 4,000 calorie challenge. So that's what I did. I had immediately after the competition, I bumped my macros up to 4,000 calories. They were at 1,650. So I more than doubled my macros. And I documented on a daily vlog for 21 days me eating 4,000 calories plus, to see how that would affect my composition, if I would have the eating disorders, if I would gain any potential or any extreme amounts of body fat. To my surprise, I only gained about 8 pounds and only increased body fat by about 1.2, 1.3%. So, and I got all my blood work back as well, and all my blood work improved. So my body fat increased very minimally, my weight increased only by 8 pounds, and then my blood work drastically improved. My triglycerides were like cut in half. So I'm like, okay, I'm onto something here. Not only is keto effective for peaking on stage, but it's an effective way post-show to minimize the eating disorders, the binging, and the fat gain. So I'm like, okay, this is great. So as soon as the 21-day challenge was over, that's when we decided to move, got everything ready, put everything in our plywood box, and it's kind of funny. We had Chihuahua Jack, we had Crystal, and we had myself in our vehicles in a big plywood box, traveling from Washington to Arkansas. And it was just like, we look like a bunch of rednecks, but we're high on life right now, so let's just do it. And that's what we did. We like threw up a hammock, tried to save money. We didn't get any hotel rooms except once, where we went to this historic hotel in Buffalo, Wyoming that I had stayed in when I moved to Washington. So that was pretty cool deal there. But we documented that whole process, and then we basically started our life here in Washington, or here in Arkansas. And once we got to Arkansas, we got like a little 2-bedroom townhouse, which is where I'm at now. And we put our heads down and we decided, okay, we're gonna stay living a minimalistic lifestyle. We're gonna save our money, and we're gonna build the foundation that's gonna become, the rest of our life. And that's basically what we're doing. I've jumped on the podcast. I've rocked out the podcast. I've rocked out the YouTube videos. I've been doing like N=1 experiments with people like Danny Vega. I've been able to grow the Keto Savage brand into something that's effectively paying my bills. And it's been a really surreal moment for me. Like, I've taken my passion, I've built it into something that's continuing to grow. Like, I'm excited about what's to come still. I've been able to meet and network with some awesome people. I'm very grateful right now. I'm very thankful for what's happening. I'm building Keto Brick with Crystal. We're making the food product with that. I've been invited to speak at a bunch of conferences like KetoCon in Austin, Texas. Low Carb USA in San Diego, Low Carb Cruise, Jimmy Moore's Low Carb Cruise. And I'm meeting all these people that I used to read about, and I'm just really grateful for the opportunity that's been given to me. And with that, I want to talk about 2 more things here. So that pretty much brings us to where we are now. Just putting out content, building my brand, and just being the best I can be on a day-to-day basis with Keto Savage and for y'all. There's 2 things I want to kind of talk about to sum up this bio. First, I want to say thank you. Thank you, the one watching me right now talk. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be able to be making this video. I wouldn't be able to have written this blog post. I wouldn't be able to have this brand. I wouldn't be able to have the money to pay my bills right now. Every like on social media, every share, every word on your lips that has my name on it, or Keto Savage, or anything that I'm trying to do, or keto in general, that is my oxygen. That is what gives me the vehicle to make this work. And for that, I am eternally grateful. I owe you my everything, and I appreciate everything that you do. And I freaking love you. So thank you. Second thing, the reason I wrote this bio in a blog post, the reason I'm making this video right now is for 2 reasons. One was simply just to give you a background on me so that you would have more frame of context for all of my content that you read and watch going forward. I figured you would appreciate it more knowing who and where it came from. The second reason is the more important reason. The second reason is this. I wanted to describe my life up to this point in pretty good detail so that there would be no question as to whether or not I had been, given life on a silver platter, whether I had been gifted into something, whether I had a break. I haven't had a break. I haven't had like this, plate full of money handed to me saying, okay, go do whatever you want in life. And I don't reiterate that point so that I can be boastful or I can make it sound like I'm hardcore or put myself on a pedestal. I reiterate that point to illustrate that if I can do this, if I can take what I am given through all the hardship and adversity and make it into something that I'm so eternally happy and passionate and grateful for, then you can. Like if there's something that you want to do in life, if there's something that you want to become, if there's my alarm clock, if there's something that you want to do in life, if there's something that you're trying to become or trying to put yourself into, you can do it. If I can do it with Keto Savage, given the hardships that I have, you can do it with wherever you're at in life. Whether you have everything handed to you or nothing handed to you, you can make and create the life that you aspire to live. So I want to end on that. I want to end simply on a plea to do. Please, you only live life once. You can make it whatever you want it to. So go do. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. We'll talk soon.